Hello out there, all you wonderful people. This is Andre, the Game I Dig. I thank you once again for lending me your time and your ear, listening into another What If video from me. And firstly, I'm going to apologize. It's a little bit later today, well, quite a bit later today, because I was doing other stuff and I didn't have the chance to record it. So you guys get it late today. It's not like I wasn't planning to do this. Excuse me, goodness, that one came out of nowhere. But I wanted to get this done because this is an interesting what if for me. Like, this is really kind of interesting because it's something I didn't think about doing before, and it's something I like. When the idea came to me, I started to laugh about it. I was like, oh, that would actually be interesting. And I think a lot of people could get behind what I'm going to present to them and give to them for this. And yes, this one's delving back into Street Fighter, and is going to probably use some of the ideas that I presented before in my other what ifs about Street Fighter. So, that all said, I'm going to go ahead and move forward with this. So this what if is, what if I was given permission to oversee Street Fighter 6, or what if I made Street Fighter 6? And first off the bat, there's not just going to be two main characters. There's going to be three, and it's not going to be Ken or Ryu. They're going to be in the game, but it's not going to be Ken or Ryu. The three main characters are going to be Alex, because he was the lead in Street Fighter 3, Sakura, because it just makes sense since she's the one that's been following Ryu the longest out of these characters. She's going to be a main character slot. And Sean, because honestly he deserves to be a main character in my eyes, and it was a waste of his potential to put him down as a joke character. Like, and with my what if about Sean Masuda, like, if you haven't heard it, there's a playlist. I think it's like my second one. When Street Fighter 3 first came out, him and Alex shared a stage location because they were literally right around the corner from each other, and they shared the song. So to me, that meant that Sean was slated originally when Street Fighter 3 New Generation came out. He was slated to be the other main character. He was slated to be the rival to Alex. So I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna bump Sean up to the rival of Alex. And this game is going to take place after Street Fighter 3. 3 years after Street Fighter 3, intentionally 3 years. And there's reason to that. For Alex, he's defeated Gil, but I think Gil lost to him on purpose. If it just makes no sense that Alex would beat Gil, and then but then again, I also read comics and I'm probably mything the stories together. But Alex beat Gil and went on to push his wrestling career. And he's currently the wrestling champion, and has been the wrestling champion for a full year. He's trained himself up after his defeat to Ryu. He's got new moves, like new striking moves, new grapples and things. And he is the wrestling heavyweight champion currently of the world, not just like a specific wrestling group. Like, he is the world champion wrestler. Like, he's the best wrestler of all the wrestlers currently, or named the best. And he's back again searching for Ryu, but he's also gone back to his hometown because he was training. So, and he's about to set out to search for Ryu. That's where I'm stopping right there. I'm stopping right there. All right. Sean, after Street Fighter 3, after Third Strike, and losing at the beginning of that tournament to that guy that Ken ended up beating and becoming world champion again, Sean went back to Brazil and to his sister Laura and started training again in jiu-jitsu. I think it's jiu-jitsu. But he started training again in jiu-jitsu. He started his training from the ground up. While he was doing the jiu-jitsu training, he was still practicing and imitating the moves that he learned from Ken and watching Ken. So he's blending the two even more, which means again, Sean also has new moves and new tactics, and he's gotten good at harnessing Hado to the point where he has a regular fireball. But it's more in line with what Sakura does, where he can't throw it fully across the screen, but he's not doing the full charging phase that she does, where she can have variations to the size of her Hadoken. When he throws it, He throws one, it goes a quarter of the screen. The next one goes half the screen, and the last one goes almost the full length of the screen. Let's say 90% of the screen, if we're talking gameplay, just so everybody knows. Okay. And he will have all 3 versions of his Dragon Smash. The light one being one he knocks you into the air, then spins and does the punch down. The medium one being the one he knocks you up in the air, spins and does the overhead smack and knocks people down. And his strong Dragon Smash is the double fist one, where he hits you with both of his fists right to your gut and knocks you up into the air. Like, I'm sorry, I like having the variation of all of them, like, because it makes the character better for me. That said, he does not do the Tatsumaki. Like, he does the tornado. That's his kick. He does not do the Tatsumaki at all. He's learned how to, again, do his moves more fluently. He's better at it. He has more jujitsu moves now as well. Like, so he doesn't just have the Sean tackle. He has far more jujitsu moves now because he's trained with his sister. And he's better at grappling and close range attacks. And he also uses and harnesses the Hado power when he does his Dragon Smash. He doesn't have a flame, like, but he's harnessing the Hado power when he does it. So it's on his fist when he does his Dragon Smash. So, like, I'm putting that out there. Because he's been practicing it. Now, he's in New York because he's looking for Ken, because he wants to receive some training from Ken to improve himself even further. But he's gotten to the point where he's not beating his sister in the fight, because I think she's just supposed to be superior to him currently. But he's close. Like, he gets close to beating her. He's never beaten her yet, but he gets close. And he feels that he needs to travel up to New York. And Ken is a rich dude who owns a company that has multiple offices. Like, I know he has one in, like, we'll say he has one in San Francisco and he has one in New York. He's okay. So he goes to New York thinking that's where he's more likely to find Ken at this point in time. And that's also where his staging will be. And also for this game, all the characters will have their own stages. And we will put Sean back on his new generation stage. And Alex back on his new generation stage. Because we'll say Alex's new generation stage is the alleyway leading to the gym he trains at. And somebody's probably linking these two things together right now. I'm like, oh, so that means they're going to cross paths. Yes. And that's one of their most immediate things. Is that Sean and Alex take each other on. Because Sean, just, again, exploring New York, he's going around and he bumps into Alex, not intentionally, not like he like ran into him or some shit, like, but like they notice each other, like they just kind of get that read off each other. They're both fighters and they kind of just like gravitate toward the same place, and they talk, they have a conversation, and they start to talk about their goals and stuff like that, because they both read that they're fighters off of each other. And Sean talks about coming to visit his master, Ken Masters, to find some to train with him again, to get some training from him to build himself up and become a better fighter. Like, he's spent the last 3 years training with his sister back in Brazil. And Alex, keying in on this, knows who Ken Masters is, obviously, because he's fucking famous. And it realizes, like, oh, so you're the student of Ryu's friend. Like, and I'm also interested in the two of them, but more so Ryu, because he defeated me and I want to take him on again. But like, I've trained myself over these last 3 years and really honed my abilities. So the two of them look at each other and get interested in having a sparring match. Not something to say that they're like going gung-ho trying to take each other out heavily, but they have a sparring match with each other, and this drives them to be rivals because they end up being damn near even. I will give Alex the slight edge because he's been the more successful character, but Sean is not too far off at this point in time because of how heavy-handed his training was with his sister. Like, so he's made major improvements as a fighter. He's no longer the joke loser character that everybody wants to laugh at. And Alex will make reference to this after the two of them fight. He's like, well, you really improved. Like, I've heard things about how you weren't that great of a fighter before, but you have made a drastic leap. And they'll respect each other. Like, because Sean will feel recognized, and Alex will see that he has a new opponent to keep his eyes on him. Like, if he's not paying attention, Sean will leapfrog. All right. Now, for Sakura's story, she's obviously not with the two of them anywhere, but during her story, she does, and like her and Sean do end up running across each other because again, Sean's looking for Sean's looking for Ken, and Sakura's looking for Ryu, just like Alex is. But Sakura knows Ken and says, "Well, Ken's probably the best person to ask." Well, so yeah, I guess she does end up in New York temporarily, but her home base is not in New York. Her home base is going to be back in Japan, and with a modified version of her original stage, where she had the little boy in the background playing the games on the TV. Now it's not going to be the same thing. Like, well, you would have that same boy, but he'd be bigger, like a grown adult, or a teenager, older. One way or the other, he's older than what he was. And he's still in the background playing the games and stuff like that. And if you're playing with Sakura on his stage, Sakura wins. He wins on the game. She loses. He gets mad and throws his controller down and stomps on it or some shit. Stuff that's relatable to the characters, and like it to be a nice little Easter egg to give to people. With remixed versions of each character's original song. So that's something else I wanted to throw out there. So all these characters, they are going to go back to their original stages. Whoever ends up in this game, they will go back to their original stages. And if they are characters from newer games that did not have a specific stage, we're going to give them one. Because certain people, you can kind of quite easily figure out where they belonged anyway. Like Rufus belonged at that drive-in thing. Like there's no two ways about it. Rufus belonged at the drive-in. So if anybody wanted to think about that. But that being said, Sakura's looking for Ken, meets up with Sean because Sean's looking for Ken too. Unfortunately, Ken ain't in New York at this point in time. He's in San Francisco. They thought he'd be in New York, so that's where they ended up. What more or less is that Ken was in New York and ended up leaving to go back to San Francisco because of something urgent. Like that way it makes sense that they got there and just missed him, and then they ended up running into each other. But the reason Sakura was looking for Ryu is because she started to experience the Satsui no Hado, and she doesn't know how to handle it. And it comes out in her and Sean sparring and having a match with each other. Like, because he's so drastically improved and nobody expected him to. She was caught off guard by him quite a few times and got hemmed up a little bit. He didn't beat her in the fight. So chill out, people don't want to lose their mind. Like, no, chill out. He didn't beat her. Like, but he got close. Just like with Alex, he got close. So they're relative to each other. But Sakura more or less beat him because she ended up tapping into the Satsui no Hado in like her final strike, which was a punch dead in the center of his fucking chest, winded the shit out of his ass. and that's what we're gonna go with storyline wise. She winded, like she damn near broke his ribs. Like she caved his chest in enough that he had to stop fighting. And when she realized what she did, she profusely apologized and shit and said, "Sorry, I didn't mean to do that." And Sean was like, "What was that?" Like breathing and wheezing and shit, losing his fucking oxygen and stuff. Like, what was that? And she's like, "I don't know, but this power just keeps overcoming me and I don't know how to control it. Like the only person I know that I know of that has found a way to control it is Ryu." And that was why I was looking for Ken. Like, because he would more than likely be able to tell me where Ryu was. So, Sean, being the bright boy he is, decides that he and Sakura are going to travel together since they're both looking for Ken. Anyway, Sean needs to train with him. And Sakura is trying to get information to find Ryu. Plus, if they stick together, they could probably spar and train with each other along the way. And he could probably help her keep her darker urges in check somewhat. Like, he may not be the best at it, but he's willing to do what he can to help. So these two end up traveling together for their part of the story of this game. And Alex decides that he's going to do his own thing and goes searching for Ryu on his own again. So I've kind of built up, like, that's how the start is for those three characters. Now, did I? And now I'm like wondering, did I cover that already? Well, I'm pretty sure I did. The whole Shadowloo and Gil and all that stuff. Like, I think I covered all that with them trying to network and build their shit back up. So there are some key characters that I want for this game that I'm going to name off the top. Like, you already know Alex, Sakura, Sean, Ken, and Ryu. Obviously, I put Chun-Li in there because, like, I don't think anybody's going to complain about having Chun-Li. So Cammy is going to be a part of this game. She is a key character in this. We're going to have Crimson Viper, Guile. Other characters that I'm just named because I like to have them would be Ibuki, Yun, Yang, Oro, Necro. It doesn't necessarily have to be 12. It could be any of those, like, you know, clone bodies and shit. It could be any of them. They can pick a random number. Hell, they can go with freaking 7 for all I care. Just one of them. So we also had characters like Dawson, had Blanca in the game. Dan would make another appearance. And Dan's appearance has a tie-in to Sean, but I'll get to that at this particular point. Then we can have a slew of different wrestlers. I swear I wish that they would have done this before, but Street Fighter has now a great staple of wrestling characters. Or Capcom, I should say, in general, has a great staple of wrestling characters. But here's how I would handle it. We're gonna have Hugo, Abigail, Zangief, not throw Hager in there because I think he deserves a chance in the Street Fighter game. Hakan, E Honda. We can have Abel. We can also have Rufus. I don't think Rufus necessarily qualifies as a wrestling character, but he's a big dude, so we can have him in there too. Then you have characters like Sagat, Balrog, Vega, obviously Bison. Bison isn't going to be in the game the way people think he's going to be, though. Like, he's not going to be Bison, and he's not going to have that body anymore. But he will be in a weakened state, but he'll still be pretty powerful. Again, and obviously Gil, Urian, Elena, because there's another character I really wish that they would use more. Valento, Sodom, Karin, because she's obviously Sakura's main rival, so I feel like it's appropriate to have her in there. Put Ingrid in the game where she actually has a story, where she's part of the story, and this is going to play into the whole Bison thing anyway. And obviously Rose, gonna have and I would have Guy and Veku in here, as well as Cody. And I'd also put Maki in here, and Carlos, and Dean from Final Fight 3, and what's the other woman from Final Fight 3? One that does the lightning leg shit like Chun-Li does. I'd put all of them in there. Just because this is my thing. I kind of like the Final Fight characters. Oh shit, I forgot Rainbow Mika. Put her in there, motherfucker. And her partner is a separate character. Do not have them in there as two characters together. Have them separated, where they have similar styles of wrestling, but they still have different moves. Shoot, what else was I thinking about? This is just me naming characters I really like to put in there. Oh, obviously Fei Long, DJ, Petit Hawk in there again. I think I got a decent list. But it just doesn't feel complete. I feel like there's still characters missing. Obviously be Akuma in there too. Gouken possibly. I think Gouken could be there. And if I'm putting the two of them in there, I would damn straight create Shang Long as a character and put him in there and make him the middle ground, like I talked about before with my what if for him. So he would be there too as the third master, the one that they didn't really talk about and shit. Like, but and we're gonna give context to how Goken survived. We're gonna use this, like, and it would be a retcon to give the context to how Goken survived. Where Shenlong was around when him and Akuma fought, and he was the one that preserved Goken's body while he was in the coma so that he didn't fail in physical health. And he also has 2 students that would be in the game, 1 male, 1 female. And I'm going to steal these characters from the from Eugen because I know there's some people who play it, but what was it? MB and his sister, the two Shotos that are there, I would make them his students. Like, not necessarily by name. I wouldn't necessarily make them the same by name, but they would be his students. So, like, the ones that trained under him and learned under him. And thinking. I don't know. Like, I think I got a pretty decent list. I mean, they could come up with some new characters and stuff like that, obviously. Like, but I think I got a pretty decent list here. So, as far as the individual stories of the 3 main characters, Alex is after Ryu because he wants to challenge him again. He wants to fight him again. Oh, and I meant to say Dudley, because I want Dudley in the game, and not with that freaking Street Fighter 4 voice. I want him with the Street Fighter 3 voice, where he had the deep, powerful, commanding voice where you could you respected this dude. Like I just Street Fighter 4. No, that voice is horrible. Like, I no offense to the voice actor, but I'm sorry. I prefer my Dudley to be proud and upstanding and have a voice that's smooth as butter and shit. That's how I prefer Dudley to be. And with Dudley, I put Eagle in there because I'd say the 2 of them know each other and they kind of, have a rivalry themselves. Whereas Dudley, like, we have Dudley as the current champion boxer, and that would, damn sure rub Balrog the wrong way. So he's there. He wants to take him out. He wants to smash Dudley face in. That's all we gonna have to say. So there's obviously a rivalry there of skill versus power. But for the most part, characters like Alex's main story beat is that he's trying to challenge Ryu again since he's been defeated by him. Sakura's main story beat is that she wants to officially start training with Ryu because she's starting to feel the urges of the Satsui no Hado. I don't know how I was messing that one up. And obviously Sean is going to Ken because he wants to learn more from him after spending a good 3 years training with his sister. And obviously, and I meant to say Laura would be in the game too. Like, she'd also be in the game with improved moves and stuff like that. But she's more of she's the master of her family style, which Sean is kind of using some of that, but not all of it. So you would see some of the movements between the 2 of them, but there's a separation. Sean is a Shoto character, Laura is not. which I'm like, this is just a quick sidebar, but if Sean's sister Laura was that talented, not strong, and based on Street Fighter V, she's on par with Ryu as far as capability goes. Why in the hell was Sean so badly treated? Like, you have his sister is extremely talented, and then you have the dude that he trains under is extremely talented. So there is no reason in the world that this dude should be as badly treated as he has been. He should have been a much better fighter, and that's why I want to correct it, because it makes no damn sense. If we go by Street Fighter V, the fact that Sean was at the time interested in training under Ken, and then eventually he does meet him and fights him and starts to train under him, like whether it's official or not, he does start to train under him. And then you have his sister, who he obviously had to have some sort of, like, sparring with her. But, like, and if she's that good, why the hell is he so bad? Like, no, we need to correct that shit. That's what we're correcting. And story beats for Sean, again, and this is why I said Dan and Sean have to be in this game together. Sean actually meets Dan. I would like, actually, as far as I would go, I'd make Dan his first storyline opponent. Whereas Dan is trying to hawk the Sakio name and stuff like that, and he runs into Sean. And this is where it gets hilarious, because like, I would make it so that Sean has the reputation of losing. Like, he has the reputation of losing. And that's why he went to train with his sister again and improve his skills a lot. Because he was aware that he was known as the loser. So him and Dan run into each other. And Dan like basically says, "You're that kid that gets beat by everybody. Like you can't even beat normal common street people in a fight. Like you need to come train under me in the Sakio way." And then Sean kind of blows him off. And Dan decides to pick a fight. And for storyline purposes, Sean whoops Dan's ass. And we will make that the definitive point in which Sean started to become a more common winning character. Like not the one that wins all the time, but just so that he starts a track record of winning. And Dan is the first one that he stomps a hole in. like he beats Dan to the point where Dan doesn't even remember who he was at the end of the fight. Like he knocked Dan around to the point where he's like, "What happened?" And Sean is off. Like, so we'll have Dan briefly be in New York because he's trying to pick up students and stuff like that. And he figured he'd go to New York because it's a well-populated area and he could hawk his dojo. Doesn't work. Doesn't work. People end up ignoring him, and then again he came across Sean and Sean beat his ass. And that's how we're going to have that roll. Thinking about some other stuff. Now, storylines for Cammy and Bison. So, for those who don't know, Cammy is actually a physical clone of Bison. She's just a female clone of him. And she also retains some of his psycho power. So, instead of the Capri like we got for Street Fighter 4, and I don't know if they did anything similar for her in Street Fighter 5 at all, because I'm just not aware. There would be points where Bison takes over Cammy, like literally just overwrites her. He can't do it permanently, but he can do it for gaps in time. And for Cammy's story, she's having memory loss issues and she's not understanding why. Like where she ends up in places that she had no clue as to why she's there, and she's trying to figure out what's happening to her. But in Bison's story, you're playing with him in Cammy's body. So all of Cammy's moves and stuff, just amplified strength and things like that, and maybe a couple of moves that Bison himself had that she didn't, where he's hunting down particular people to recruit back to Shadowloo and trying to have a new body made for himself. So he's trying to have a new body made for himself. Where like and it'll all come to a head eventually, but in this form where Bison is taking over Cammy, just so it makes sense, we're gonna call this one Killer B instead of the Capri, because it's not Cammy mind controlled. This is Cammy out literally with no control over her body, and Bison has taken it over. So we're going to name that Killer B, and he would wear a mask and everything, very similar to the Capri, but not the same thing. Not exactly the same thing, obviously. There'd be no Kage. I don't want Kage in this crap. Like, you already got Akuma. You don't need Kage. Like, if you really want an evil Ryu, then it could be another what if story. It does not have to be a manifestation of the Satsui no Hado that takes Ryu's form. It just doesn't make much sense. So I tossed that out. And there would be a dark Sakura storyline where she does actually fully succumb to the Satsui no Hado and Ryu actually is the one that has to find her and stop her. Like, so at the end of Sakura's mainline story, before she finds Ryu, before her and Sean find Ken, or right around the time they find Ken, and let's just say she had a run-in with Bison as Killer B taking over Cammy's body. She's had a run-in with Bison, and that sparked the Satsui no Hado, because again, it's been noted in the Street Fighter lore that Psycho Power and Satsui no Hado are on similar wavelengths. They're not the exact same thing, but they're close enough. Just kind of like Rose's soul energy or Ingrid's energies are also very similar. So that stated, having that run-in with Bison and Cammy's body leads to the awakening of the Satsui no Hado and Sakura, and it kind of just goes out of control. So Ken is the first person to run into her at this point, besides Sean, because Sean was already there. But Ken's the first person to run into her at this point. And he fights her off just enough to like protect himself and Sean. Oh, and also we're gonna put Mel in here. Mel's Ken's son, because Ken is training his son. Like he's not gonna be up there in level with everybody else. We put him in there, like age him up a little bit, like be in his early teens. Because I don't think he was really all that far from it, honestly. Anyway, so he could be either in his early teens or preteen, kind of like Sakura was when she first appeared in Street Fighter Alpha. So just clearing that out the way. But it's like it ends up taking Mel, Sean, and Ken to fight Sakura off, because that's how strong the power was in her. And Ken and two of them eventually find Ryu, and Ryu's out training. But here's the thing. Oro had the desire to train Ryu at the end of his ending in Street Fighter 3. So that's where Ryu's been. He's been training with Oro, and he's been in Brazil. Ken, having a vast amount of resources, was able to pinpoint where they were and find them. So that gets interrupted. Like Ryu's training gets interrupted when Ken and company find him and bring to attention that Sakura's running wild with Dark Hado, and now they can't find her. And I would make her have a run-in with Akuma, because Akuma, obviously, he's looking for people to have a death match with, and like in her having that power would spark his interest, quite obviously. So, and this is just the storyline stuff. I haven't even talked about gameplay and all that. Like, and I'm not even doing a full rundown of all the storyline stuff, because like every individual character would take some time to develop all that stuff. But like these are the things that I've picked up on and I already have in mind. So throughout this, Ryu does have his rematch with Alex. He beats him again, but it's a much closer fight this time because of how tough and hard Alex has been training. But with the training that Ryu got from Oro, he's still a step ahead. And Ken's back up to his training because he's training Mel now, and he has Sean as a student, so he's training him too now. So he's going to be much better by the next iteration, whether it be a Street Fighter 6 Plus or whatever. But it would be a continuation from this story. So there wouldn't be any overwriting this for another story. It would be a continuation from this story. But gameplay-wise and design-wise, do not go back to Street Fighter V's designs. Those character designs were not that good. They were ugly, to say the least. Street Fighter 4 was okay. If you go back to a design style similar to that, or even a cel-shaded look with that kind of design aesthetic to it, it would look good. It would give it a more of a comic book or anime appearance, which actually falls more in line with Street Fighter anyway. So that would work out fine. But gameplay wise, I'd want the game to more so reflect Street Fighter 3 as far as gameplay style and the combo system, how the combo system worked, because that was actually pretty good, and it wasn't so stiff and stuff like that. And I'd come back in with like certain things from Street Fighter 4, like the power up charge moves and stuff like that they had. That stuff I would keep, like, but all the characters would have multiple supers, and you'd have the choice of 1 or 2 ultras for them for when the rage gauge that they have fills up. I mean, it's not what they call it, but that's obviously what it is, because that was kind of lifted from Samurai Showdown. But that being the case, and like the story mode itself, every character's story interlaces with somebody else's. Like, so when you're playing one character's story, you're only really playing their perspective of the story, but the overall arc of the story, everyone's connected. So just to put that out there. Damn, what was I thinking about? And I said Ryu was training with Oro in Brazil. I meant to say in the Amazonian jungle. I think that's still in Brazil either way. Like, my geography is not that great, sorry. But either way, like, he's training with Oro in like Amazon and stuff like that, in the caves and stuff where Oro was originally found, which also look very similar to the caves that Eva, Ryu, and Akuma had in Street Fighter Alpha 3 anyway. So, like, yeah, that's a lot of stuff to think about. But that's where Ryu was training with him. So, to be honest, Sean wasn't too far away from Ryu when he was training. That's it. This is really the only thing to think about. The Street Fighter tournament does still happen, like, but I'd make that something outside of the actual gameplay story, and make that like just the arcade mode, where everybody has an individual ending after beating the tournament, if you get what I'm saying. Which I would only make 1 to 2 of those stories, 2 of those endings possibly chronological, and it would have to revolve around Alex, Sakura, and Sean. Those would be the 3 that it revolved around. Because again, I'm taking Ken Ryu out of the main character slot and putting them up to masterclass characters. So, trying to think. But gameplay wise, like, again, combo system would be more aligned with Street Fighter 3, because like that really worked very well. And a lot of the pluses and stuff that came from Street Fighter 4, with the counter moves and stuff like that, or the charge attacks that they had, retain those. So everybody has multiple supers, like not giving anybody more than like 2 or 3 regular supers, and then you have like 2 ultras, but you have to choose between them when you're picking your character. So those are all things that I think will work out really well, and it would be nice to have it that way. Trying to think anything else I can really throw in here as far as gameplay. Oh, well, maybe not gameplay, but game modes, obviously. And I've said this, I think, before, but harkening back to Street Fighter Alpha 3, I'd bring the World Tour mode back. But World Tour mode would have a different purpose, where you have a created character. And that's something Street Fighter really hasn't done, really. I think it was done with Street Fighter EX plus Alpha 3. It could have been Street Fighter EX 3, I think, did do it. But from what I remember hearing about it, it wasn't all that great. So this would be an opportunity to make it something that's more in-depth, where you can actually create a character from scratch. And I'd give like maybe 6 slots, just like Street Fighter Alpha 3 did. So you give 6 slots for people to be in there. And you could play the World Tour mode, where you're fighting all the different Street Fighter characters in different locations, and obviously building up experience, and you can adjust your character stats the way that you want. I wouldn't have a whole bunch of different isms. I think 1 super gauge is really all you really need. You can give everybody the custom combo where they can have their, like, you don't need the Exorcism gauge because you have the Rage gauge, which will replace that anyhow, and the one ultra move that comes from that. And then you could do multiple supers off of your 3 level super gauge. Maybe make it 4. I'd make it 4 levels. Just to stretch it out a little bit. Make it 4 levels. So a lot of that's already covered. You don't need the different isms like Street Fighter Alpha 3 did. The arcade mode, you get the option, and I take this harkening back to Street Fighter 3, where you had the option between 2 opponents to fight. And I know that's separate from what I was just talking about with the World Tour thing. I'll get back to that. Like with the arcade mode, you get the 2 opponents to fight back and forth, and we'd have another character like Q or G, whichever one you want to use, or even if they make a new one that just has a different letter, I don't give a crap. But you'd have mid area opponents, and then you'd have rival opponents, and then the final fight. So then the final fight would not necessarily have to be. The final fight could be either Gil or Bison as Killer B. Like, that's how I would run it. It would be either Gil or Bison as Killer B. Or if you're really good, really good, as a special fight, you get Akuma, Goken, or Shenlong, like I had said before. So you'd have all those options for boss fights and stuff like that. What else was I thinking about? Okay, getting back to the World Tour mode, where you can create your own character and have them basically give them your own style that you want them to have. I'd give it to the level cap would max out at like 40. I'd say the level cap would max out at 40. But each fight that you have gives you the opportunity to adjust your character stats. And as you build up levels and experience, you can add on augmentations that will affect those stats or give your characters additional benefits as far as how their special moves work and stuff like that. Or like you can use those augmentations to give your character a different number of supers and stuff like that. Or like, as well as you can also change your character's moves and stuff. Like there's going to be the option where more moves unlock as you play. And you won't unlock all of them on one single playthrough because you'll have to play different. You'll usually be given multiple different choices for things that you can do, and each fight gives you something different. So depending on what fights you pick, depends on what you're going to get. So in order to actually, get everything that the World Tour would offer for a created character, you literally would have to play through the game, through the World Tour mode 6 times. In order to unlock everything, you'd have to play through it 6 times. And that way, after that, you can then decide how you want to adjust your character's stats. And there would be an option to fully reset everyone's stats and then set them the way you want them to be. So you don't get to the end of it and your character is set one way, you can't fix it to how you want it. Like, yeah, there would be an option to go ahead and wipe their stats and stuff and just put everything in place the way you want it to be for that character. Because that was irritating for me at the end of the World Tour modes for Alpha 3. And I'm like, and that's on every version of it. Like whether it was the Saturn one, the PlayStation one, or the Dreamcast one. Because those are the ones I played and beat. Like that's how that would roll. So for additional modes, you'd have a dramatic battle. Like I think that would be cool to keep in there, the 2-on-1 dramatic battle, as well as a 2 versus 2 mode, so you can have team ups and pairings and stuff like that, because that's something that Street Fighter really doesn't do. Like, so yeah, have that. Obviously a survival mode, training mode. I already said arcade. Obviously your versus online and offline. And I'd give it also like a tourney mode, like kind of like I'd lift this from rival schools and stuff like that. Tournaments and stuff like that could be played in the game, whatever. And thinking. Because I know I did a lot of the story stuff, and I wanted to get that out the way first. So that's why this is so long. But I think people will appreciate the mental effort I'm putting into this. So I did this dramatic battle. Like survival mode would have 1-on-1 and then dramatic battle and then reverse dramatic battle, where you can take on two pairings of twos with one character and stuff like that. But even with dramatic battle, like I'd also make dramatic mode a separate thing where you can have certain pairings in that setup actually have stories together. So like Ken and Ryu would have a story together, Sakura and Sean would have a story together, and so on and so forth. Where you get characters like certain character matchups would have just like interesting stories, like not necessarily chronological stories to the actual game, but just like little stories and stuff like that, where you can get to see how these characters would interact with each other and how they would get to know each other and stuff like that, and like banter that they would give back and forth. And also for the arcade mode, which I meant to say this before, I would follow the route of King of Fighters 13, because I've not played 14, so I don't know. Like with King of Fighters 13, where every character who fights each other, they have fight dialogue with each other. Like, and I would always also keep the rivalry intros in for certain characters, but everybody has dialogue with each other. Like everyone has dialogue with each other. Like, so it just makes it more interesting for the game, and for me as a player, and ingrains me more into the game, because then you get everybody's smack talk back and forth before the fight starts. And you know characters like Sean gonna run off his mouth. Even if he gonna lose, he gonna run his mouth off. Like that's what will make it interesting enough. So I would enjoy stuff like that. I'm thinking I don't want to spoil the idea too much though, because I think I've covered really a lot of different things, and this is an extremely long discussion as it is already, and I'm the only person talking, so it's kind of like, awkward. But what I can do, I was going to do creating an action adventure for my next Gamer Idea Foundry, but the next one I could do is to follow this, the What If I Made Street Fighter 6, where other people can give their opinions and their thoughts after having listened to this. And I'm going to make it a requirement for anybody that joins that they're going to have to listen to this. So you guys who listened into this are already a step ahead of the game. So you're a step ahead if you want to join in on that discussion. I don't know exactly when it's going to be, but we're going to work on that. So I'll have that set up for everybody. But yeah, I don't really want to push this too much more, because I think I've covered a lot of stuff that I personally would like, that I think would work real well and would be pretty good. So that being said, I'm pretty sure there are some people that are salivating at the idea of playing this game that I just basically presented to them. like, man, I would have played that. Like, that sounds awesome. But yeah, we're gonna go ahead and call it quits here, because I think I've gone on for just about 50 minutes anyway. So yeah, let me go ahead and shut the thing down real quick. I don't know why I said that like that. But whatever. Thank you guys very much for listening. Keep your eyes and ears up for more stuff from me. And until the next time, please enjoy your games, and I gotta go deal with that. Peace out.